My experience might be a little bit different from a lot of people. I was in the early days of my career, I was very active with impaired driving. I was involved with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I would, on a typical year as a constable, arrest 50 to 70 impaired drivers, which is quite a bit. There are nights where my partner and I would arrest 2 in a night. So I mean, I've dealt with potentially in the thousands of impaired drivers. It's interesting because human beings really, we're all wired more or less the same way. So what I've found the best analogy for me is the 5 stages of grief apply to impaired drivers as well. You know, that being denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So I found that you can almost set your watch to it when you're dealing with an impaired driver, to those 5 things happening. Well, so I think the denial is fairly obvious. Upon stopping and you confront a person with whether or not you smell alcohol or whatever the case may be, they'll deny having consumed any alcohol, or they'll grossly understate the amount of alcohol that they've consumed. And once they realize that you're not buying it or they're not getting out of it, it turns to anger, and often that involves telling you, do you have anything better to do, and that sort of argument, right? That really, no, I don't have anything better to do. This is actually quite important. Bargaining, you know, if you just drop me off at home, promise I'll never do it again, or I won't drive until I'm sober, that sort of thing. Oftentimes that turns into crying, which is a depression phase. Also letting me know how much this is going to impact them and their personal lives, you know, their work or whatever. So that's part of the depression. And then once everything's said and done, and it often happens after the breathalyzer phase is gone, and they're, you know, it's acceptance. They decide, they tell you they need to make changes in their lives. Whether or not they do is a completely different issue. But so in essence, that's how it shows itself.
Do you ever hear from people after the fact, months or years later, if you've pulled them over though?
You know, oddly enough, and not a lot, but since Facebook has come around, I have had people reach out to me through my personal account, which is somewhat concerning to me, and I've taken steps to avoid that happening. But people, you know, you can find people on Facebook, and people have thanked me months later. And I'm not going to say that that's happened a lot, but I've had a couple of experiences like that now.